Welcome to the Amplify to Seven Figures podcast, where we look inside the mind of seven-figure entrepreneurs to see how they amplify their business and amplify their life. Let's welcome today's guest. Welcome to the Amplify to Seven Figures podcast. Today's guest is a CEO of Genie Goals, a Google award-winning top 3% agency. He's a growth entrepreneur, author, speaker, and the creator of Build, Grow, Repeat program. And he's helped businesses build solid, ethical businesses internationally. Luca spoke at Google in London, Milan, Berlin, in front of some of the best agencies in the world. And he's also a family man and a father of three with a strong passion for helping small businesses and freelancers grow. Luca actually grew up in a poor, dysfunctional family, and at the age of 13, he went to work to help his single mother meet ends. And then he moved to the UK in 25 with only £65 in his pocket and £190 to pay his first 2 weeks of rent with no language skills. So this guy is an amazing person to learn from, and he's also an author, philanthropist, which is a hard word for me to say, and founder of the SAM mentoring program, a high impact business coaching program that helps agencies and coaches grow their income so they can grow their impact. It is my pleasure to welcome Luca Senatore to the show. How are you doing, Luca?
Hey, what an intro. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that very, very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And it's a pleasure to have you. You know, we're always looking for people on the show that are ethical, that are givers, that have built a business in the right way by giving as much value as possible. And from our first conversation on Facebook Messenger, I knew straight away that you were that kind of person. So that's brilliant. So let's jump into what your stuff is all about. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a curveball. I actually saw you doing a video a little while back, the old Ty Lopez style. Let me show you in my garage, right? And you remember this one?
I do, yeah.
Like, hey, check out my most prized possessions. This 1979 Piaggio moped.
Yes, very good. Very
yeah, and you're like, hey, this was $1,000. Yeah, this moped was $1,000. I've got a normal car. I've got a normal house. Check out my mansion, which is just a normal house in Cambridge. Yeah. So do you think that where, showed us a house, do you think that luxury things are important as a seven-figure entrepreneur, or do you get your drive from somewhere else?
Yeah, it's a great question, and great digging and great memory digging out that video. Yeah, I think it was a Saturday afternoon, and we have a team, and I'm blessed enough to not needing to be on social media a lot. So I do the posting, my team handles a lot of the management of it. But that day I noticed so many people flashing the Porsches and flashing the Rolexes and flashing. And I think it gives the wrong sense of success. Success is very subjective. It's very objective, I should say. It's both, actually. Success is happiness. Success is where you get to a point where you wake up every day, and at the very, very least, you don't mind going to do what you're doing, right? And at the end of the day, you think, I'm fulfilled. I created something. I'm a producer. I'm not a consumer. Now, that is different for everybody. If the Lamborghini and the Rolex does it for you, great. No, I'm not judging whatsoever, right? But it doesn't do it for us, right? A Fitbit and a family car does it just fine. And for us, we get the kick out of helping other people. We're not better for it. We're not worse for it. We're just different. But what isn't right is misleading advertising. And because we are in a business of selling money, with the SAM mentoring program, we help businesses grow. So essentially we sell money, right? We get people from 0 to 10K a month first, and then high six figures. That's selling money. Whether you do it ethically or not, is selling money. And the vast majority of people that will show you the Lamborghini, they rented it for a day so that they could shoot that video, right? Or maybe they've got a Lamborghini, but they've got everything else that is not in order. And so I thought, let me just do a video of the things that I built in 8 businesses. And as you've seen, I've got a very normal motocross bike and a couple for my kids and so on. we don't really live a luxurious life. Luxury is not a bad thing inherently, but I think it can create a misleading sense of success. And when people work very hard to achieve that, then they buy the Ferrari and the Rolex. They might be wondering, is this all there is? Because I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And so that was really a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek video that I did for all those that just casually happen to have the Lamborghini in the background as they shoot a video about X, Y, and Z.
Well, that's what actually struck me to watch it in the first place, right? Because I was like, this doesn't seem to match with the guy that I was speaking to before. Like, hey, check out all the luxuries I've got, and I was like, makes sense. So, Luca, I did some reading, and you've been married 14 years. Is that right?
Yes, 15 almost. Yes,
15 almost now. What is the secret to firstly her putting up with you? For 15 years as an entrepreneur, going through all that. What's the secret to happy marriage when you've got this entrepreneurial journey going on?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. I'm afraid one that I'm not qualified to answer. So I'll tell you what happened to us. I have no problems being transparent, but I have no advice for people out there. I think the most important thing that happened to us is that we didn't change. So, well, I see a lot of my friends, and they, I'm a former professional martial artist. I competed at a professional level. I did motocross, and I still do, right? I took my kids motocrossing on the weekend. This morning, I was hitting the pads with my coach, personal trainer. I've not changed, and therefore my partner, Karen, still with the person that she met 17, 18 years ago, right? And I think many people change, they build a relationship, and then they change in the leg of the business, leg of the sport. And then after 2 or 3 years, you want to go back to being who you really are inside, because, if you were born square, you're not going to die round, they say. And then the marriage begins, or the relationship begins to suffer. But, I kid you not, I built 8 businesses. The first 4 almost killed me, and our relationship was put under a lot of pressure, and it was tested. And my wife actually told me that the secret to being happy in relationship is to never fall out of love at the same time. Mm. And when the other person seems to be off, we gotta be patient. And when we are a bit off, just be kind. But I don't have much advice for people. Don't listen to what I'm saying, people, because I have no business in the relationship sector. But I'm blessed. My wife is an incredible person.
Yeah, and having that support network, right, when we're growing and scaling, it's so important. And it just struck me like 14 years of marriage, entrepreneurship is, it's almost a life sentence. So, so that's fantastic. So I saw you on you were doing a Google interview, and you're talking about your why. So why do you think your why is so important to get your why clear?
If you get up in the morning because you want to buy the latest model of the 911s, mm-hmm. right? Or because you want to make $1 million. Everybody wants to make $1 million. Everybody wants to make. You ask an entrepreneur, what do you want to do? I want to make $1 million, right? You break it down as to why. Nobody really needs $1 million. You don't need $1 million to be happy. But anyways, and then the going gets tough, or the shiny object becomes a little bit shinier, or there is a Netflix series that you just can't get away, or there is whatever, a beer that goes down too well. Then all those things you can postpone. I'll buy it next month. I'll make the $1 million next year, or whatever. When your why is deeply rooted and connected with something that is truly important to you, right? Then the shiny object is not so shiny anymore, because the real shine comes from that big moving fact that you have inside. And they say, and they're right in this case, they say, when you first start growing, you help yourself. Then you help your family and friends. Then you help your local community. Then you try to make an impact at the national level. Then you try to make an impact at the international level. Then you try to make a global impact, right? When you make a global impact, it's not about you anymore. But when you make even a local impact, it's not about you anymore. And that is a bigger why. So I have cards and the certificate when we donated to CanFed, and we sent 50 girls to school for an entire year. We are sponsoring now a project in Kenya where we pay $15,000 to build a water well system that will bring water for life to the children in school, who at the moment, at times, need to bring water from home for the school to be able to cook them a meal, right? So in 3 months from now, that school in Kenya will never, ever, ever have that problem again because of us.
Which is fantastic.
When tomorrow morning I don't feel like getting up,
Yeah,
I have all these 350 children look at me right in the eye, and I'm choosing to stay in bed rather than get up and making it happen.
and you can't, you like you say, when you've got that power and that why around, hey, I'm helping so many people, and that the more people, do you feel like the more people you have counting on you, both like internally as employees and also, you know, from employees to your wife to charities to just internally your own beliefs as well, do you feel like it gets easier and easier to get to where you want to go because you've got so many people counting on you?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I often show, when I do webinars and workshops, I show a graph of Genie Goals. I mean, some mentoring programs go from 0 to 6 figures in 11 weeks. I mean, that's unprecedented growth, right? Where we just, but Genie Goals is at a more of a traditional growth from 0 to about $2.5–3 million in about 5 years. And when you see the trajectory in the graph, it's a linear line, aggressively going, but it's you know. And anybody looking at the real graph, that's a graph based on numbers. It's a real graph, right? Would agree that it's a fantastic smooth journey. Now, what I do normally, I show the year-on-year graph, which will look very smooth and gradual. When you then change the stats, the data, and you make it a month on month, and you do the same period, but instead of just seeing 2018, 2019, 2020, you see the months, you will see there is up and down, up the peaks and dips, right? And some months were actually lower than the same month the previous year, although the trajectory is always up. And when you look at a graph like that, that is representative of anything. If you do, if you're an athlete, if you start in a business, if you grow in a business, if you do 5 figures, 6 figures, 8 figures, it's the same thing. The problems are different, but you always have ups and downs. When you're small, like I said before, when you're starting out, the ups and downs may be to do with you. I am not making the money. I am not doing this. I don't feel well. When you go more people, it's more about the collective group. When you impact people at a global level, it's you have ups and downs because of what's happening in the world, but you are miles and miles and miles away. So it doesn't get easier, but what I think happens is that you get used to hardship.
Yeah.
And so you thrive through it. Right?
Almost like with the martial arts, right? You get used to getting kicked in the head a lot more and get a tolerance for it almost.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody's ever got used to getting kicked in the head. And if they do, they probably have a mental health issue. But you're right. So if you think, that's a great analogy, actually. If you think of the pain that you inflict to your body when you train, it's pain, but you go through it. You might actually even smile at it. If you have the same pain because of anything else, because you banged your arm instead of trained your arm, it's the same level of pain, but it bothers you. And your emotion will be low, will be a negative emotion, whereas the same pain but caused by training will be a positive emotion, right? It's the same thing. So building a business, you learn to kind of dance in the rain rather than just be happy in the sun. You know, you learn to accept that it's going to be hard, it's going to suck, you're going to have issues. So one of the best people that I've ever met is Sonia. You might have interacted with her. Mm-hmm. She runs everything behind the business. She's just incredible. And on April 4th, she made the most, I guess, severe joke or April Fool's joke possible. She said she was leaving, right? I mean, it was April Fool, right? And then she said, I'm never going to do this again, because my face was kind of very stoic about it. I am into Stoic philosophy a lot. So, but that's to say that you learn to park your emotions when it comes to business. It's not about the ego anymore. It's not about emotion. So it's not that I didn't care. I care if she was ready to leave. I would have the biggest problem that the business could have. Yeah, could lose all the clients, I'll re-win them. I will never lose the clients because we deliver great results. But if we had to, we'll win them again. To find a Sonia, I'll have to be lucky, right? So it will be a very big problem. But you get used to facing the problems. And I remember when I started my first business, I had a debt of 20,000 British pounds, sorry, $30,000 with the bank. Now, I don't really do stress, but I went to bed every night thinking I owe $30,000, $20,000. It's a thought, Now at the agency, our Google beer is something like $1 million a month or something like that. You see, so you change, you elevate your thinking to a different level where the problems don't affect you anymore. But it's never going to be easy. It's hard. You just interpret hard in a different way, I think.
Yeah, it's really fascinating and interesting. And going back to the martial arts, so I saw you actually built your own rolling dojo, which is super cool. And how do you think martial arts has really helped you with the mindset of becoming a seven-figure entrepreneur?
I think discipline is probably if somebody was to ask me, you could only choose one attribute, one skill, what would it be? I would say discipline. Because I think talent is unreliable. Talent is only applicable when you work, when you put in the effort, right? I think discipline will allow you to never stop. And if you pair discipline with mentors, right? So the only problem with discipline is that if you have blinded discipline and you keep doing the wrong thing, you're just going to get yourself into bigger trouble. But if you have the right people around you that keep you from going from straying too far from the right trajectory, discipline will carry on. You may not do it in a month, but you will do it. Right? And I think martial arts is the epiphany of discipline. Because the way the reason why we opened a martial arts academy is because I wanted my kids to train in one. And I also wanted kids of families that cannot afford, because we built a state-of-the-art martial arts. So we're not cheap. But martial arts saved my life when I didn't have anything. And I know in the community there are kids who, unfortunately, for whatever reason, economically, they're not financially, they're struggling. And so we have a scheme where people that cannot afford to pay the gym pay whatever they can pay. Right? So people with low income can send their kids to train for as little as nothing, if nothing is what they can afford. And at least when I had it was like that. And the reason is that the reason why we did it is because the new gyms that we found were more about building a business for the gym. When I grew up, my karate master when I was 10 made me sit on my knees, which for me was very difficult because my body wasn't designed that way. So it was very painful for me to do it for a minute. It made me do it for 20 minutes because when I was punching, I kept my fist slightly open, and then he stuck a big pen cap on it or in it. And if I let it drop, then I would have to kneel for 20 minutes. And I let it drop so many times until I didn't, because my knees couldn't just take it anymore. Right? And that wasn't just my karate master. This was a friend of family, somebody that loved us. And that's why we could afford to go, because he didn't charge us, right? And for me, discipline is really the thing that allowed me to go through the struggles. I had a childhood that was a little bit challenging, and the discipline is the thing that allowed me to go through it, right? That was really it. I was 13 when I was bending, welding, and cutting metal in a building trade factory. And it's just discipline that carries you through there. It's not law of attraction or Tony Robbins at that stage, where YouTube channels you can log in and get Gary Vaynerchuk to give you a little dose of it'll be okay. There was nothing, right? And I think discipline was, that attribute. So I think martial arts really does a lot of stuff, respect, self-control, and blah, blah, blah. But discipline for me is the number one.
I love that. And anyone listening, it's probably one of the most important things going forward for any business, and with it being so much shiny objects now as well, and so many options for distraction, discipline is probably even more important than it used to be, because we do have those options. So absolutely love that, Luca. So why do you help other coaches and agencies who could potentially become competitors to your business?
Oh, big question. All right, good question. So the reason is less romantic than it might seem. So I did, my first business in the UK was an agency, marketing agency. And I studied coaching because I wanted to help my clients better when I was doing it. And I fell in love with coaching. I'm talking about 20 years ago. So I've always been a coach and I've always been an agency owner. When I started building Genie Goals, for a while, that became the only thing that I did. So for a short time in my life, I only had one business, which was very weird for me. But I kept coaching on the side. And then I coached some people from Google, from Abbott, and a large organization. And then, so I've always done coaching, but always to a scale that was really under the radar and managed very easy. And then the pandemic hit. And I was spending about, I don't know exactly, but anything between 40 and 80, 90 hours a month traveling. Because I was either speaking at events or clients in Europe. So I was always on trains, planes, and taxis. When the pandemic hit, I thought, sugar, I have so much time now. What, and I think I've got some sort of hyperactivity disorder or whatever. I thought, what do I do? I said, okay, let me just take this coaching business to a different level. Now, I've always been a philanthropist. My son and I would bake lasagnas for the homeless. I would always do stuff like that. And I thought, let me build something that has a purpose. And so we gave ourselves a challenge to build a coaching program in 30 days. And by that, I mean building a learning portal, a backend with all the videos and so on. And then I started selling it. And in 11 weeks, we did 100K. And I thought, all right, there's something in this. And so we decided to donate a lot of the money that we make to charity. Supporting CamFed that brings education to women in Africa, well aware that builds water wells and water systems for communities that don't have it. And also during the winter month in England, people like the Trust or Trust, and we feed families that cannot afford to feed themselves. And so we build this thing, and our motto has become, we build this movement, grow your income, grow your impact. And the idea is to help other coaches, because if you help a coach and if they make 10K a month, then they're helping so many other people. So by doing that, we can change the world, right? And the reason why agencies are also a group that I help is really no other reason that I built agencies. I wrote a book about agencies and I'm very highly qualified to do that. And it seems like a bizarre thing not to do. But the spin that we put on it, we only help people that are very aligned with us ethically. So agencies that come and say, I want to do it because I want to help others. Because in fact, when they join our program, we give them a 50% discount if they commit to donating $5,000 once they make $50,000 in our program, right?
That's fantastic.
So, and we do it for that reason. And so we did it almost to prove a point, and now it's become a high six-figure business in less than 7 months. So it's become a beast that we didn't quite realize it was going to be quite so quick. We knew we could take it there, but not in the time that we did.
And do you think a lot of that as well is down to the culture that you've instilled within that and instilled within the company? So it's growing organically as well. And I know one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is to grow sales organically. Maybe why do you think so many people struggle with that?
I actually wrote a post with the 10 commonalities of people that struggle. I'm happy to share it with anybody, but I think the main ones are, so this is what happens. So you're a classic person, start a business. And then when you do, you have all the good reasons to do it, and you worry about all the wrong things, the website, the logo. We did $235,000 without a website. So, but you obviously as a business owner, you worry about all those things that don't really matter, right? And then eventually, I got this beautiful thing here. It's beautiful. It's ready to change the world. It's ready to deliver a great service, right? And then nobody is there because you built it, but it didn't come, right? So that's the first time you realize they lied to you, right? Because if you build it, they don't come. And what you do, then you go on the internet. You go on the internet and you start searching for, how do I get clients? How do I get leads? How do I blah, 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 blah. And as soon as you do that, you will be retargeted by all people that sell to people like you who want to grow a business. Some of these programs are good. Many of these programs are not. And as a newbie, you don't know how to tell the difference. But in fact, you never know how to tell the difference unless you go deep into it. But anyways, but let's assume that you go into a good program. Right? Within a good program, I know 2 group programs. Of course, I'm not going to mention them, but very good programs. The problem with one of them is already happening, that I got too many members. And so whilst the program is good, the members are not getting that one-to-one, that close. So that could be often the case. But anyways, what happens there, let's assume that you're going to a group program, and then because you're now into this machine, you will be retargeted by 100. Well, in fact, the statistics will tell you, you will be targeted by 4,000 advertising bases every single day.
Wow.
Right? That's an average. Right?
That's a lot.
So like anything, what happens is that you start something. I mean, look at walking. How easy it is to walk. You put one foot ahead of the other and you do the same thing over and over and over again, right? Riding a bicycle. It only takes practice. Whistling, clicking your fingers, simple things. They only happen when people do it, and then it happens. There's not a course that teaches you to bypass the process of learning through repetition. The same is building a business, right? So you go into a program, you think there's a blue pill, red pill, you realize there isn't, so you start learning, right? Now, in our case, our program, we stripped out everything that may sometimes work and only left the stuff that really works consistently. Still, you need to come in and do the work. So you come in, you start doing the work, and you think, okay, it's not quite as in plug and money comes and then you're rich, right? There's a little bit of work. Because you're targeted by 4,000 pieces of ads, there is an ad that just stands out. And then it looks like the blue pill. Mm-hmm. So you quit this program that you haven't mastered, you buy another program and you get in. And you start and you go 10% through the mastery ladder, and then something else catches your eyes. So you stop and you go, and then eventually you begin to say programs don't work. Right? Yep. Some of them don't, some of them do, but you generalize now because none of the ones that you did work. Some, they didn't work because they were never going to work. Some because you didn't give it a chance, right? So you never master it, you go back to number one. The ones that succeed do a lot of research on a program, ask the right questions, don't get themselves sucked in by the shiny object, and then they give everything to that particular program or that particular strategy until it's dead. Done, automated or delegated, right? So they master it, they delegate it, and then they move on and they do it. We are now on our 4th program, right? And now we invested heavily, about 26,000 pounds, I think, last week, for paid ads, because we specialize, we build a business that does 60K a month, 52K a month, or totally organically. So now we're invested in mastering the ads, right? And we won't move until we master that. So the important thing for people that are looking to build a business, it doesn't matter what program you choose, as long as you do your due diligence, you need to realize that there isn't a magic pill. There isn't. The flip coin, the flip of that medal is that it's actually very easy to go to about 10, 15K a month. Certainly 10K a month is actually very, very easy. It's not rocket science. And the enemy there for most people is complexity. They build these complicated funnels with 150,000 steps. I'm here to tell you that we did 235K without even a website, with a presentation, So, they get involved into these very complex systems and strategies, and they are very hard to maintain and to execute. But as a simple, proven strategy, if you're an entrepreneur in your building and you do less than 5K a month, your to-do list every day should be sell. Set appointments and take appointments. Set appointments, that's nothing else. The color of the logo doesn't matter. The name of your company doesn't matter, because the truth is that if you and I sit down tomorrow and decide that we're going to be the biggest technology company that the world has ever seen, we will never call it Apple. We will never call it like a fruit. No. Right? So the name, what matters is sell. At the beginning, you have to sell, you know, to prove the concept. You have to get cash in the bank so that you can invest, so that you can get into good programs. At the beginning, if you're not doing 2.5 to 4 hours a day selling, that is the biggest problem. Sorry, I digressed massively. I am passionate about this stuff.
You kind of answered about 3 questions in one there, Luca. So I love, I love it. And yeah, it's very much that anyone listening, you know, who's at maybe the 6 figures mark right now, early 6 figures or the 5-figure mark, like take that message and set the appointments, sell, set the appointments, sell. It's a simple process. And like you say, when we remove all that complexity, then we can have a lot more success. And you know, you've shown that how quickly you can scale a brand new project, you know, with in a different market. So that's fantastic stuff, Luca. What would you say over the next 5 years? You know, obviously being in the paid ad space, you've seen a lot of changes. What would you say in the next 5 years how marketing is going to change online?
It's a big question. I don't know. You say, you know, we're in the ad space for e-commerce with the agency, but for the service business, we're actually taking mentorship to master ads. So I think it's important that one recognizes what you don't know and what you don't need to know. I think the next 5 years in terms of marketing, what will happen because of the way the world has changed is that people will become more savvy. You know, the information industry has always been big. Now with remote working, and yes, people are going back to work, but a portion of people will remain remote, will remain distributed. Technology has improved. You know, technologies that already existed, like Zoom, has become better because of it. So that there's an incredible amount of factors that came into play. I think many things will change. People will become more savvy, but by the same token, you and I will be here in 5 years' time, and we will say exactly the same things that we said today. You could actually play this recording in 5 years from now, and people building a business will get just as much value because it won't change. There'll be shiny object syndrome that will stop you from achieving your goals. There'll be overcomplicating things that will stop you from achieving your goals. It will be exactly the same. And marketing is the same now that it was when I started 25 years ago. It's exactly the same principles. Yes, the tech is different. You know, the way in which you do things is different, but the concepts are the same. We will still capture people with hooks. We still have an amount of storytelling to do. We still have an amount of branding to do. Marketing is the ability to take your product in front of the right people. Branding and brand marketing is the reason they say yes. This has been the case for many years. Will always be the case going forward. Technology will change, but I don't really see marketing becoming it's not like the medical industry, right? Potentially it could be totally different by then, you know, but totally different, you know, with the cell generation, there could be totally different landscapes. For marketing will remain the same.
So what you're saying is, although the tech may change, the fundamentals and the cores of business they follow through and through. From even if you go back to you know, Clayton Makepeace and Eugene Schwartz and all those kind of copywriters, things changed in human psychology.
100%. I mean, if you take boxing or football or skiing, it's the same thing that it was 30 years ago. You know, the best boxer, jab cross hook, right? It's you know, the fundamentals are there. Like I said, the way in which you get there is different, but the fundamentals are the same. You know, we work in the e-commerce space, so it's highly tech driven, right? There's a lot of stuff that you do with technology, data crunching and data interpreting. It's data modeling. It's very high tech. As a marketing strategist, you don't need to know any of that. Right? The strategy is still the same. It's still the same. It's being unique in the right way. It's speaking to the right customers. The concept of niching down has been around forever. You know, people like Tony Robbins or Russell Brunson or Kiyosaki, they use the same strategy for years and years. I mean, I followed Tony Robbins since I was a kid. The way they would sell me an event is the same now that it was back then.
Yeah, it makes total sense there, Luca. So we've got a couple of questions before we wrap up today. One of them being, what do you want to be remembered for when you die?
Yes, my legacy statement.
Your legacy statement.
Yes, I do something called the mind movie every morning, which is essentially just a reminder of your values and your goals and all that kind of stuff. And the legacy statement features as one of the first slides. And for me, that is me on my final hour. And on my final hour, I will want to be remembered as the person that helped millions of people elevate their lives through growing their income so they could grow their impact and live happy lives.
That's fine. That Mind movie then. So is that an actual video presentation that you watch each morning?
I did it in Google Slides. It's about 20, 30 slides. And yes, it just sits on autoplay. I get my cup of coffee, I put on music, and I just look at it. And it reminds me of my core values, my non-negotiables. And every single day, no matter, I mean, I've done it for years, every single day on the last slide, I just came up there and I said, let's go do it. All right. And yeah.
I love that. And that's something that, what we're noticing more and more when we're having these interviews with seven-figure entrepreneurs is these kind of focus points. It's the non-tangibles that make the big difference. It's not a strategy, it's not a tactic, it's the mindset and the focus on what is that goal, where am I heading, what are the values. So that's phenomenal, Luca.
It's very tangible when you are synced. It's like a radio station.
Yeah.
If you have a radio, I mean, some of the young people don't even know what the radio actually is, but like the old radio that you turn the dial and it goes to different frequency, right? The frequency, the radio stations are always there. You just have to move on to that frequency, right, to hear it. And it's the same with this stuff. For me, and I'm sure for you, these things are very tangible. One of my biggest values is to be kind. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that you're not always kind. Even the kindest person in the world, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, you're not always kind. You can't always be kind, right? And when I'm not kind and I could have been, I feel it. I feel it, and it's a very tangible feeling, right? It's way more real than a cup or whatever, right? It feels horrible. And like good things feel nice. So it's very tangible. And I think when you do something like the Mind movie or whatever you do to kind of remind yourself of who you are and who you're becoming, because what you're becoming is always more important than what you're accumulating, what you have, right? And when you need to remind yourself of who you're becoming. And when you do that, and it makes you go, ooh, there's something here, that's tangible.
I love it. And I can really relate to that. I have the same thing with my integrity value. If anyone ever challenges that integrity, and there's a big difference between honesty and integrity, and I think that's a different conversation for another day. But yeah, I have the same thing with that. And you're just like, oh, you feel that thing in your stomach. It's like there's butterflies going around, like something doesn't feel right with what you're doing, and then you quickly realign yourself. So, Luca, one more question. What is one quick win that people can use to amplify their business today?
So who am I speaking to? Who's listening to this? Do we have a niche?
So it could be six-figure entrepreneurs who want to get to 7. It could be mid-5-figure entrepreneurs.
Okay. So the one quick win. There's so many. So can I cheat? Can I have 2?
Oh, go on then.
Okay. One is for me, the secret to making the second one happen. And the first one is plan as if the day belongs to you. Because if you're anything like 95% of our clients, they come to us and say, I don't have time for anything. Then we do an audit on their 24 hours and they save 8, 9, 10 hours, right? Because they're busy being busy. So we developed something that we call the wonderful week design and the wonderful day design. And on Sunday night, on Monday morning, you sit down and you say to yourself, all right, Paul, this is Monday morning, but let's imagine it's not. Let's imagine it's Sunday night next week, right? In six days. It's been a wonderful week. What happened? Right? What made the week wonderful? And include everything. I included, because of that exercise, I got in touch with the only teacher that believed in me when I was a child. And we're now in contact, and I didn't know she was alive, but I was able to reach out and say, thank you. You probably changed my life just by believing in me when nobody else did, right? And I had the opportunity to tell her that. Mm-hmm. Had it not been for that exercise, I would never thought of it. right? That enrich me as a person. What does this have anything to do with business? It's got everything to do with business, because it teaches you the power of doing small micro planning. People plan the 5 years, the 3 years, the 1 year. Plan the week, right? Because a year is far enough for you to give yourself the opportunity to procrastinate and to delay. A week is not, right? And so if you do the exercise and you plan the week on things that will make the week wonderful consciously, two things will happen. The first one is that you realize that it doesn't really take much to make the week wonderful. 10, 15, 20 tasks max, right? The logo isn't one of them. The color of the bottom of your website isn't one of them, right? Them meeting about nothingness isn't one of them, right? So a lot of stuff that we can cut out. And the reason why I start from there is because when you do that, and you create space to do the second thing, right? But if you share gold and people don't actually have what they feel, they don't have the time to do it. So the first thing is plan wonderful week design and a wonderful day design. So once you've done the week, you do the same for the day. Okay, 6 o'clock on a Monday, it's been a wonderful day, right? Imagine that it's the end of the day, it's been a wonderful day. What happened? What do I need to do today? The 2 or 3 things that will make the day wonderful. And then cut everything else out. Within that, you always block a couple of slots, one in the morning, one in the evening, that we call the top 90 minutes of uninterrupted deep work time, right? Where you just close your wife or your husband out, your pet, close Facebook, Snapchat, chit-chat, all that, and just work on the stuff that moves the needle. That alone, if you do that, will change your business, I promise you. And the second thing is put 2.5 hours in your calendar every single day for selling. And truly sell. Oh, but I don't like spamming. Me neither. You don't need to spam. You just need to get in touch with your dream client, drop value. And if you do that 2.5 hours every single week, every single day, the results will come. This is, I think, the one strategy that I'm talking about. Specifically, you can go into, I don't know, LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. This strategy makes us an average of 10, 15K a month. Just this one. Take you 2 hours a day to do. You first find who your dream clients are. So you build a client avatar. Then you go to Facebook groups where your client avatar is. And then when people say, grow my business or whatever problem they have that you can solve. Yeah, I want to lose weight. I wonder what works for you guys. And you drop amazing value with a specific methodology. Humble brag at the beginning, where you show them that you're qualified to say what you're saying without really bragging. For me, that is, I built 8 businesses. The first 4 almost killed me, and then I learned. So it's bragging, but it's also bringing the human side of it. I'm not perfect. Then we teach, then we give them so much damn good value, right? And then we say, we also have a free book, a free training on this. Let me know if you want it. That strategy alone makes us between 10 and 15K a month.
Phenomenal. So just to break that down is go dream client, go into Facebook groups, put a humble brag, and then after that, put something that softens it so it's not too egocentric. Then the strategy and the methodology of what that thing is, and then offer for someone to take the next steps with you if they've got value from that thing that you put in the group.
Yeah, so once you have your dream client avatar, you go and find these people in Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups or hashtags, whatever it is. And when they put out a post asking for help, you just give them the help within their post as a comment, right? Yeah. And the comment is, yes, qualify, humble brag, or likable authority, or however you want to call it, teach, and then say, we also have a free whatever about this. Let me know if you want it. We generate so many leads out of this, so many leads. But they get quality, they get value. We have people that came to one of the master. We run a masterclass every 2 or 3 weeks. We've got one on Thursday. And last one that we ran, a guy walked out of the masterclass, implemented, and sold $20,000.
There you go. So it's worth even the free value, right? So and
what do you think that happens to that person when they want to invest in the program?
They go, well, you've already paid for it for me.
Exactly. So if you do weight loss, and you share some tips that allow somebody to create an easy meal plan or an easy workout plan, and it really works for them, what do you think happens when they need a personal trainer or a nutritionist? And I know it sounds simple, but like I said, simple stuff. I think Einstein said that genius is in simplicity, right? And
yes,
I think it's right.
100%. Luca, it's been amazing having you on the show. You dropped so much value about how people can amplify the business and amplify the life. So where can people find out more about you?
I think if you Google Luca Senatore, you'll definitely bump into only me. I don't think there's many people with my name. lucasenatore.com, I think it's a good place to start. On Facebook, again, if you go on Facebook and you type in Luca Senatore, I don't think there are many. But yeah, lucasenatore.com is probably your safest bet.
And that's spelled www.lucasenatore.
Wow, impressive. Yes.
It is when it's on the Zoom screen.
Okay, fantastic. I don't see what you see.
Yeah, this is all good. So yeah, go and check out that today. Check out Luca, and if you've got an agency that you want to grow, or if you've got a retail brand that you also want to grow and scale up from that perspective, go and speak to Luca. It'd be amazing. You've been listening to the Amplify to Seven Figures podcast with me, Paul Ace, and my amazing guest, Luca Senatore. And remember, amplify your business and amplify your life. Thanks for listening to the Amplify to Seven Figures podcast. To access the show notes, episodes, and this month's giveaway, head over to www.amplifyto7figures.com. Remember, amplify your business, amplify your life.